war.
Especially in a lot of like college campuses,
Oh, yes.
people were not quite pro Vietnam.
The head of the draft board came to speak at Howard University when I was a student there, and the students ran him off the stage. They didn't want to hear it. Lieutenant General Hershey is his last name. I think it was John B. Hershey. I was a reporter there writing the story because I knew what was going to happen ahead of time. The students told me.
Right.
Right. So the Post had the only photographer, and I was the only reporter there. It was great for me. It was a front page story.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that how you develop your ability to find those good stories? Or I guess a better question might be, how do you know when there's a good story in something?
A new sense.
Right.
When you know I didn't know that because that happened after the 6:30 evening deadline. I didn't know that I would make the major printing edition, which begins at 10:30, but I did make it. And it's the home delivery edition. It begins at 10:30 and it runs until 2 in the morning, off the printing presses. I knew it was a good story. I didn't know it was going to be a front page story, and it was a front page story. Other stories that I've done, I knew right at the beginning that they would be front page stories or front page series. I began writing series in 1973. And I wrote a couple of series just about every year after that. And I always knew that my series would be a front page series. 7 days, 8 days. Sunday to Sunday was 7 days. Usually you got Sunday to Friday. A couple of times I got Sunday to Sunday, which was 8 days, which makes you feel good. But so you know that the quality my editors knew that what I would be turning in would be a front page series. So we had discussed it long before I was even writing, when I was doing the research and the reporting. Yeah.
And this series was what later became the book. Is that accurate?
Which series now?
The series that you were mentioning.
Well, there were 2 books that came out of the series.
Right.
Well, one book was When Children... No, 3 books.
Okay.
One is Shame of the Prisons that I did with Ben Bakdikian,
Right.
former dean of journalism he wasn't dean at the time, he was an editor at the Post, but he's dead now, late dean of journalism, University of California, Berkeley School of Journalism. We did a series together. And I've forgotten, that would be my first series that I was part of. I only did one part of it, but that was the first series that I was part of. And I think that ran in 71. I'm sure it ran in late 1971. Then that was put into a book, Simon and Schuster. Then I did a series was published in January '86. And that was when the series title was Teenage Pregnancy at Risk. Oh, no, it was At Risk Teenage Pregnancy, something like that. And that book came out a couple of years later, as the title was When Children Want Children. And I specifically chose that title because there was so much misinformation. People were thinking that adolescents were getting pregnant accidentally, out of ignorance. And they were very clear with me that no, they wanted to have children. In fact, they hid the pregnancy from their parents and other relatives so that the parent and other relatives wouldn't insist on an abortion because they wanted to have a child. And then I followed an underclass family for 4 years, headed by a woman named Rosalie Cunningham. And over the 4 years, interviewed her multiple times, all 8 of her adult children, 5 of her 30-odd grandchildren, and 6 of her 11 brothers and sisters. And that was a full-time. That was my last big series. It wasn't my last series, but it was last one. The last series ran after I came here, called I think the title was Young Male Killers, where I spent time interviewing two brothers who were both in federal prison for murder and had committed their murders as adolescents. And I was trying to dig up what was the transition from children to killers. And that sort of laid it out, yeah. That ran in November of '99. And I got comments from, colleagues. I thought you were teaching at University of Illinois. I said, well, the series was, when I left, the series was ready to go, and they finally got it in. I'm glad they got it in. Yeah.